right, let's do this. Hey, 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 welcome back, everyone. We are live. I'm pretty sure I'm multi-streaming. It's always a little confusing. I'm pretty sure we are live on YouTube Shorts, and on LinkedIn. So hello, everyone, and welcome back, Tim. It seems we whenever we skip a week, it seems like it's been a long break.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, and there's been a lot going on there. It still keeps the industry still keeps moving despite us being away.
Yeah, it's been a busy few weeks here. I just did the dramatic zoom. For anyone watching, please check out the website letsdovideo.com. Despite the fact that I've been traveling, I've been producing a lot of content for you all. There's some key things I want you to see. There's a video. One of the big Zoomtopia announcements, which we're going to get into, is Zoom AI Companion 2.0. There it is, and it's not enabled by default. I made a very short, it's like 4-minute video on how to enable it. There's a Zoomtopia wrap up, and there's plenty of new episodes of the AI Chefs. So please check out the website. But let's get into two of the biggest events of the year, two of the biggest companies that we cover, Zoomtopia and WebexOne. And before I get into the events themselves, I want to get into, because the analyst relations people at both companies asked for feedback on this, whether we prefer a big celebration event or whether we prefer a smaller, more intimate event. And I'm not sure. There's pros and cons on both sides, and I got to see both sides this year. Zoomtopia was smaller physically. It was huge virtually, tens of thousands virtually, but it was smaller physically. And WebexOne was massive physically. It was more days, more people, music, the whole thing. And I'm torn because, on the one hand, I love the big celebration. If a company's doing well, it should celebrate. What are you making all this money for if you're not gonna have a little fun with it? And I definitely like having all the people there. I feel like I almost give the analyst relations people a hard time because if any of my friends aren't there, I'm like, why aren't my friends here? And it's not their job to throw a party for us. If I want, I can have the Let's Do Video convention and invite all my friends. But the hallway conversations with other analysts, it's not just good for us, it's good for the companies. The good stuff gets shared around. We figure things out. It really is good to have all the analysts there. But that aside, and I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot. I want to really get your opinion on this. So let me lead up with like just a real question. Let's say that Zoomtopia, by going smaller this year, by not having the event hall with the booths, which cost them millions and millions and millions, by not having the music, let's say they saved enough money to hire 200 engineers. What would I rather have? What would you rather have? Would you rather have the big party and Ludacris and Snoop Dogg? Or would you rather have Zoom getting a little bit ahead or getting a little bit more ahead on the development?
Interesting one. They're doing a good job of both, of course. I personally prefer the smaller, more intimate settings where we can speak to senior product managers and senior people at both events, where we can sort of bounce ideas off them, give opinions and views. And we don't always get that at these big, large celebrations. Of course, the one thing that we do get to do is to speak to customers. So that really helps. Sometimes we get to speak to channel partners, understand what's going on in their minds. But it's a very difficult sort of situation because I almost feel like I'm a guest rather than an analyst at these large celebrations. Whereas, I put my work hat on when I go to very specific analyst briefings or analyst events. So yeah, interesting. I like both, but I get more from those very focused analyst events.
I do find that what they often do at the big events to try to balance that, because they're aware of that, is they'll have an analyst day beforehand. So we'll get that time, or have even during the big event. Cisco was massive, but they had a separate analyst room where there was just the 40 of us, and they had the execs right on stage answering questions. So we had that intimacy as a part of the big event. So sometimes we get the best of both worlds if they do that. The only problem with this, and there's no way around it, is Analyst Day, we sit through all the presentations and get to ask all the questions. And then the next day at the actual event, we see all the same presentations again sometimes. Both did a good job of not doing that this year, but that has happened a lot of times. Like, we saw these presentations yesterday.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is as well, David, is these things are a two-way. They're a two-way relationship, of course. So usually at analyst days or analyst events, a lot of vendors actually message test with us and say, well, how does this land? Does this sound about right? What are your views about this? We're thinking about this approach. And what we do see is that messaging changing when it does come to these large shows in front of customers and partners.
Mm. I I wish I wish I had an answer for this. I wish I had an opinion for this, but I can't necessarily say Zoomtopia would have been better or worse if it was bigger instead of small this year, and I can't necessarily say that WebexOne would have been better or worse if it was smaller this year. I think it just might just be a choice thing of whatever the team at the company feels like doing that particular year. I think, yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong on this one.
No. And I also look at Cisco's large events, Cisco Live and then WebexOne, and think, is there still space for both of those to exist? They're both very large, very expensive events. Cisco this year clearly deciding that WebexOne is worthy of its own sort of event, but you do get that replayed at the bigger Cisco Live as well. So interesting.
Yeah, I think there's enough of a differentiation for that for them to have too. A lot of the analysts I talked to said they're not going to Cisco Live. It's not their event. There's other analysts that go to their event. They're just about WebexOne, which I think is true for me as well. But there is definitely, and it's one of the strengths of Cisco, which I guess we'll get into when we talk about WebexOne, is that Webex isn't a separate thing from everything Cisco. It ties into the network. They had I should have had a whole bunch of slides ready for you, but I thought we just talked today. But they had a slide showing how the video bar in the room is getting the temperature, which goes to the network, which goes to this system, which goes to that system, and it's all tied together. It really is part of the power of Cisco. But that being said, I think there is a place for WebexOne as a standalone event. It was just WebEx stuff, and there was 3 days of it, and there was enough for 3 days. There's a lot going on with WebEx. So should we start with Zoom since that was first?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into this.
Zoomtopia, and I had you see it rotating back. I have a review of it. One of the cool things was, I don't know, have you been to their London
I have.
Experience
They've
Center?
got a very nice, very nice EBC there, Executive Briefing Center. Very high tech, very futuristic, lovely office. Yeah, I was invited there a couple of weeks ago, I think. Yeah.
So they have one now in San Jose as well, right next to Zoom headquarters. It's funny, I kept getting confused because I would go into the Zoom building, which has 9 floors, and the Experience Center is on the 11th floor. And I'm like, wait a minute, it was the building next door. But from what I said, even if you've been to the San Jose one, which you need to go to the London one. Like the London one's magical, like balconies and beautiful. Hey, we got Kevin in the chat. Kevin, how's it going? Kevin agrees that WebexOne is a separate event, makes sense to him, and he was there. So there's enough going on with WebEx. So the Experience Center, I think, was part of the big news of Zoomtopia. It was amazing, and the way they laid it out, it really kind of laid out the message of Zoomtopia. There was a big, beautiful area in the center, big, massive curved touchscreen for Zoom Workplace, where they're doing Zoom Workplace demo, because everything's about Zoom Workplace now. They had a big room on the side for Zoom Rooms. It was the meeting room of the future. It was really cool. It had all the latest gear, big screens and everything, and showed how Intelligent Director worked, because Rooms is a big part of it. They had a demo room for Contact Center, which they were pushing us into. It was funny. They were pushing us into that demo, the analysts, so much, because Contact Center is a winner for them. I actually sat through the demo twice. I got mixed up in groups, and they just, analysts have to see this demo. Like, okay, I'll watch it again. And it was a great demo. So the Experience Center itself was, I think, part of the big news of Zoomtopia. Did you, as someone who attended it virtually, did you get that?
No, I didn't really. I was more into the keynotes and some of the later breakout sessions. And I guess because I don't live in San Jose, it's going to be.
Well, I was wondering
if
they shared that well. I was wondering if they broadcast that, if they had the ribbon cutting, Was that shown on the
I
events
didn't quite
portal?
catch that. They may have done, but
Okay.
it sounded like a very important event for them as well. It's great to have these executive briefing centers because you get to speak to product specialists, see all the demos live, get a real feel for things, talk about your business problems, your issues. All of the vendors are doing it, so it's really nice to see Zoom investing some resources into that.
Yeah, and it makes sense since I see this meme on Reddit all the time. Someone will post a picture of Zoom headquarters, the big building with a Zoom at the top, and then they'll say, "Why does Zoom have an office building?" Ha ha ha! Because people think Zoom is a remote tool, and no, Zoom, they have desktop meeting reservation systems. I mean, they have right, they have they're a hybrid working company, so they have to have an office. So
Yeah.
it makes sense for them at an experience center because it's not just Zoom meetings anymore. It's all of this. It's all the stuff you have to put your hands on. You have to see. Um, so the keynote and the big announcements themselves. What were your big takeaways?
Wow. Well, the big one for me, is, of course, is the 3,000 features that Zoom's released since the last Zoomtopia. So whether or not that's the big one, of course, AI Companion, AI infused in the portfolio with all sorts of things like AI-powered video generation in Zoom clips, AI avatars, their partnership with Perplexity, AI Companion to help detect, recommend, help, identify tasks across the Zoom workplace. Data tables and workflow automation in Zoom Docs, multi-intent detection in contact center as a service with virtual agent and self-service chatbot, automated quality management. There was just so much there. Sometimes it's difficult. We've got our work out trying to summarize it in salient points.
Yeah, I feel like I could spend 10 minutes on each of those. And one thing, and I know sometimes I sound like a fanboy, but I'm going to say the same thing about Cisco. I think these companies are doing a good job of, okay, they're throwing AI at everything, but it's not just AI. Here's what we can do here. They're all compelling examples. They're coming up with really good use cases. It's not just, hey, we can have AI also do this because we can. I mean, one example, I was talking about the contact center thing. I've been very hot on AI in the contact center, but I've been really focused on only half the picture. I was missing a big part of the picture. I was focused on these AI assistants that while the agent is
Mm.
typing to you and, oh, this person isn't happy because they can't get the seat they want on the flight, the AI is able to say, hey, there's another flight you can give them that they'll like even more. And if an agent would have had to look that up, they might not have known it. It's the super agent. That the supervisor that's sitting over the shoulder. Give him a free T-shirt. Those demos have been really compelling. The agent gets the
Yeah.
information. The human agent gets the information faster, quicker. Sentiment analysis is able to tell if the person is very happy or not. All that stuff is wonderful. But there's this other half of the AI contact center story, which is the actual AI agents, which I had written off, the chat bots, the stupid chat bots that as soon as they come up, I say, give me a human. Both Zoom and Cisco have made them good. I'm going to be happy to talk to a chatbot in the near future, which I never thought I would say. And that seems
Yeah.
like a huge leap.
Well, it is, and also that multi-intent detection. So it might be, I want to change my seat on my aircraft, and I would like to order the vegan meal. It wouldn't be able to do that previously. It would be like, well, have I answered your call successfully? Well, no,
It
you
was
haven't,
it was a
because
script
I still got.
before.
Yeah, yeah. So that's really good. I think the other big piece in the contact center space is the automated quality management, where previously supervisors would have to listen through hours and hours of calls trying to grade agents, whether or not
Mm.
they objectively grade agents as to whether or not they handled their call correctly with plenty of empathy, whether or not there were long periods of silence. All of that is now automated now, and that is more objective because if you get along well with your supervisor, it's going to be subjective. They know David, they like David. David's going to get a good score. So it allows you to do all of that grading automatically at speed with objectively. So there's huge savings in the contact center. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more adoption there as things get more and more broadly adopted and more intelligent.
Yeah. Yeah. If anyone comes to me and says, I think some of this AI stuff is hype. It's a little too much. We don't need it all. I don't think, I think we're just hyping up AI. It's not real uses. I say, let me show you some of these contact center demos I've been seeing, because that's real, like, helpful now. The stuff was just blowing me away. The Zoom had one where it was a chat bot, which it sounds like a dirty word, but it's going to be a good word soon. And it was someone who was, was trying to get 2 extra seats for the baseball game, and it brought up a map of the seats and said, here's the nearest 2 seats. You want these or these? And I'll put them in these seats. And by the way, I noticed, you need to renew your season tickets for next year. You want to take care of that now. It was such a human conversation, and it was handling, like you said, multi things. And the demo that I think that blew everyone away was at Cisco. It was the same kind of thing, but with a voice agent. And with voice, I expect Alexa, I expect Siri, I expect, you know, uh, thank you for calling. Please press 1 for ticket information. Thank you for pressing 1. And this was to the point where we all, after the demo, ran up and said, was that an actress or was that a real demo? Like, we didn't believe it. And it was someone saying, calling up the agent saying, hey, I want to check on my healthcare plan and da 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 da. And it was such a natural conversation. And the wow moment was, it said, please give me the information on this plan. And the AI started talking. The plan has this and this and this. And the human person said, no, hold on a second. Let me interrupt you. I don't want to talk about that. I have another question instead. And the AI was able to say, oh, okay. It stopped. Where usually AI, you can't interrupt it once it gets going. It was and it did it a few times. It kept it like the person was being difficult to deal with, and the AI was dealing with it. And I'm like, ooh, this. By the way, we have Kevin in the chat. Uh, New virtual agents are great, but too many orgs are still using the scripts from 10 years ago. Yes, I'm
Yes.
excited about this stuff. We need to use this stuff.
Do you know what, David? As you're
Tim talk a little bit
talking,
before I want to get to what
I,
Kevin said, but first Tim.
that's great. I was thinking about there's a great sci-fi movie. I like sci-fi movies. Do you remember Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone and
Yes.
Sandra Bullock? There's a point in that where Sandra Bullock is answering the phone in the police department, and she says, "You're through to a human. If you wish to speak to an IVR, please press 1." I'm wondering when we're going to flip to the point where AI, where humans front the call and then just hand it off to AI because it's more efficient. But as you were talking there, I was sort of thinking, maybe I know it's a great movie, but there was a point in there where I thought, yeah, well, maybe we're going to get to a point where people are very happy just having everything done by AI until the point where you're really upset about something and you desperately need to speak to someone that can convey some degree of empathy, and you know that they're going to handle your call. So the human's going to be the last resort for people that are really annoyed, angry, have something very complex to deal with that requires empathy as well.
Yeah. The leaps we're making are amazing, because if you said that to me, I was going to say 2 years ago, but you know what, 2 months ago, if you had said that to me, I would have said, no, no, no. I'll be happy if these chatbots get less dumb, but I still want a person. Person's better. But after the demos that I saw in the last few Zoomtopia and WebexOne, I'm thinking in some cases the AI bot will be better than a human, because a human sometimes, hey, check whether my plan covers this or that. Okay, let me put you on hold while I check. You're listening to bad music. AI checks like that. It doesn't need to take three
Yeah.
minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes to check. I spent a lot of time on hold. So what you said, again, 2 months ago, I would have said it's crazy. Now I'm saying, yeah, I think very soon I'll say, can I talk to the AI bot? Except in some
Yeah.
cases, I'll still want the person.
Yeah. So that was I know we flipped between Zoom and Cisco WebexOne there quite a bit, but we spoke about AI. We spoke about obviously some CCAS developments with Zoomtopia and the 3,000 features they have. Were there any other sort of key areas that stood out for you, David?
Yeah, well, Kevin made a good point in the chat, which chat's on this side of my screen. He's saying that Zoom AI Companion is doing a good job of connecting to other information sources. Like it can pull from your email, your calendar, if you use Exchange. You can connect into Office 365, Zoom meeting summaries. I think that's very powerful, and I'm worried that the message might have gotten lost at Zoomtopia a little
Mm.
bit because there were so many wonderful AI companion announcements. There's AI companion in the contact center and the tasks thing. I want to talk about that task thing. That's all AI companion powered, all this AI companion stuff. But the one thing that I think of as the real companion, which I think they're calling AI Companion 2.0, or maybe this is all AI Companion 2.0 and this is the panel, but it's the panel thing. It's the one they have the video for. And that's what Kevin is talking about is you can ask this new panel thing, which you mentioned is powered by Perplexity as well. It's ChatGPT. It's ChatGPT for Zoom. And you can ask it, hey, what meetings do I have next month? Or hey,
Yeah.
go through my emails and let me know what's on fire. It's tied to all this. Or go through go through my recent chats with Tim and see if we had any good ideas for upcoming podcasts. It can go into all that stuff, and you talk to it like it's a person. Seems to be, maybe I'm getting overly excited about it, but I think this is the biggest thing of all the things, and I think it's getting
Yeah,
lost in the mix.
I think what you were doing is if we were to contrast the two vendors, Zoom and WebEx or Cisco WebEx, I never know whether to call them Cisco WebEx or WebEx. If we compare the two companies, one's got the power of the platform in terms of reach across the whole collaboration and UC suite, and also the contact center capability where you can sort of, you can use AI in the contact center and then pass all those case notes to the back office where a subject matter expert can deal with it. That gives you the power of the platform and the integration at the application level. Then you look at Cisco, and it's the power of the platform in terms of the integration with the networking, the switching, the routers, the Wi-Fi, the security, the management, the observability, integrating WebEx Thousand Eyes into WebEx Suite and contact centers. That's the depth, and you've got the breadth. It seems to be, I just see this theme emerging as to platform decisions, platform choices, power of the platform.
I,
And whether or not you go broad or whether or not you go deep depends on different buying centers, whether or not you're a Cisco house, whether or not you want to take your Zoom estate and integrate that with Microsoft Teams or Microsoft or have it on its own. It's becoming more and more difficult for buyers, I think, to sort of make that platform choice.
yeah, both companies would love for everyone just to use their product for everything, and they're both conceding that and use Microsoft for Microsoft stuff. They'd love to just use Cisco for everything or Zoom for just use Zoom for everything, but the world is what it is, and both Zoom and Cisco do have a Microsoft friendship story these days. But as far as otherwise getting everyone on the platform, Cisco, that's what Cisco does. There was a very distinct difference talking to customers. When I was at Zoomtopia, I talked to customers and they say, we're using Zoom where it's right. We're using Microsoft where it's right. We're using other things where it's right. And they get the value of the Zoom platform, and they're using more things in the Zoom platform because Zoom's done a good job with Zoom Workplace. But when I talk to Cisco customers, they use Cisco for everything, period. I think they drink Cisco coffee out of Cisco coffee mugs. They drive Cisco cars. I don't care if Cisco doesn't make a car. They found a way. They're driving Cisco cars to work. They're Cisco
With
network.
WebEx integration for video calls built into the Apple Play
Yeah,
system.
WebEx
Yeah.
up and down. And when I say to them, so when you chose WebEx, did you choose it over Zoom or did you choose it over Teams? How did you make the WebEx? They never even thought about WebEx. They never thought about Zoom or Teams. They switched from Jabber to WebEx. they're Cisco, 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 Cisco. So, and they're happy. It's not like, yeah, we're kind of missing out because we're not having some first in class stuff. WebEx has done a great job. We used to make fun of WebEx, and it had to be good enough to keep those customers happy. You don't want those customers saying, I'm really missing out by not having Zoom. WebEx isn't there. It's there. It's top tier. I say now there's 3 top tier solutions. And you could say Zoom is better at this, Teams is better at that, WebEx is better than that. There's 3 top tier UC solutions, desktop video, the stuff that we talk about. And I think that WebEx, it's great that they made their customers happy, but I think it's good enough now that it should be part of this outside discussion. New companies, what's your choice? They're all just talking Teams or Zoom, Teams or Zoom, Teams or Zoom. WebEx is getting new customers with contact center. WebEx contact center is going
Yeah.
into new customers. But as far as
There were some
WebEx,
interesting things there Yeah, as we start looking at the topic of WebexOne, there's some really nice things that I liked about WebexOne and their customer engagement solutions around WebEx AI agent. Um, it was called topic analytics. So you can see why people are calling and what their needs are, and you can group them up into topics. So that makes it really compelling from a behavioral analytics side of things, and the way in which you can segment and have topics around call intent and things like that. So I found that was really interesting. I think that's going to be, sort of really important for specific meetings, specific use cases. One thing that I was a little confused about was the spatial meeting side and the integration with Apple Vision Pro, because at the same time that was announced, I looked into my news feeds and found out that there is question whether or not Apple were going to continue with the Vision Pro,
Yeah.
which is a shame because I thought the spatial meetings idea is great. It's cool. It might have some business relevance to specific industries if you're working construction or hospitality, or you want to do a great big town hall event and have it in this fantastic sort of environment. I'm still, in the same, what I think about avatars, but I still think I don't know that it has questionable value if it's in a team meeting or in a
We're not
one-to-one.
going to sit it.
But
We're
it
not going to
was,
wear them sitting in this meeting room. We're not going to sit here and wear our.
I can't really see that. But if it means, leveraging VR goggles so that I can attend an event from home in a wonderful immersive experience, that's absolutely fine, because it's certainly going to be cheaper than jumping on a plane and being housed in a hotel. So there were some demos that I thought, well, that shows that it's cool. It shows that they've got the resources and the development and the resource to do that. I'm not sure whether or not it's got a great broad appeal. I can't. It's difficult. It's difficult enough people buying decent headsets
Yeah.
and webcams. I don't think people are
I
going
don't
to go
have an
out and
Apple
buy Apple
headset.
Vision Pros. Yeah,
I did get to try on the headset. They had a demo booth at the exhibit hall. And like I said, WebEx was big. They had an exhibit hall. Kevin's making some great points in chat. I'm gonna get to Kevin's points, but first I want to talk about the goggles. I basically agree with you. It reminds me of telepresence. Back in the day, we would go to a WebEx event or Infocom, and they would show us a $250,000 video conferencing system, and we would say, yeah, this is super cool. And yes, the use cases that you're giving us are valid use cases, but I'm not going to be seeing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these out in the wild. There's going to be, a couple of Cisco's best friend partners are going to have one of these. I think this is a little bit more than telepresence. There are more use cases. There's medical. Medical is really good. There's design. They said they used it themselves when they were designing their Ceiling Mic Pro, which was the product they announced at the show. So they had more valued use cases, I think, than telepresence back in the day. But like you said, at most, it's a niche. But I don't want to like make fun of them for it, or be against it, because it's development. It'll lead to other things like telepresence did. We got a lot of great video technology out of telepresence, even if no one bought those systems. So even if I never get one of those headsets, what the team is doing in the development of this experience is really what it is. That's going to be good for me down the road. So I'm a big fan
yeah,
of it, even if I'm not going to get one.
sure, absolutely. So, what are some of Kevin's points?
Oh, yes. He believes that AI is pushing people more strongly towards platforms instead of products. I agree with
Yeah,
that. And that's why I'm so
yeah,
excited about Zoom Companion, because if it is one of these friend things, and if people are using it every day, waking up every morning saying, "Hi, Zoom Companion, tell me what's in my email," and then the boss says, "Hey, we're switching to something else they don't like as much," it's going to be harder to make them switch. It really is. uh, I was always saying chat is the stickiest part of the platform, because chat's where your friends are. I think this is going to be even stickier than chat. This is where your virtual assistant is. This is where your companion is. This is where your co-pilot is, whatever you want to
I
call it.
already where I work, we're a Teams house, and I already use Copilot in Teams to sort of say I've got an up and coming one-to-one with one of my teammates. What were our emails? Can you summarize the last week? What has John, Jane been working on over the last week? So it can provide me with coaching and provide me with information relating to a one-to-one. That is absolutely superb. I don't have time to go through all of the emails, all the chats, all the files, all the presentations that I've been working on over the last 2 weeks. That is really great. And I think what we're going to get to a point we're getting to get to a point where people don't have to justify the ROI because they know it's there. You know, I know that I'm going to save hours by collecting all this information in advance, and my AI can go and deal with that, take care of it. It's almost like the days where you might have your own individual personal assistant that can deal and manage
Yes.
all of that.
That
I
that's the
love that.
that's the analogy I make when people say, I don't see the value of this. I said, how much would you pay to have a human person do this, even if they were only 9 to 5, and even if it took them 2 hours to do a task instead of instantly do a task? That's a 6-figure job. And oh, it makes mistakes
Yeah.
sometimes. So would the human. You know your stuff. When you tell them to summarize something and you look at the summary, you're like, no, that's what they said. They said in the meeting. I know what you meant, though. Thanks for the summary. It still helps me. That's the value. This is a personal assistant. And I made the point when I had my one-on-ones with the Cisco execs. I think this is the one gap they have in the WebEx portfolio, is they have the AI meeting summaries, the AI this, the AI that, all the wonderful AI things, but they don't have the one AI assistant somewhere that's in a panel somewhere that I can talk to, and it says, "Hey David, do you want to continue your project from yesterday? Hey David, yes, I know you're working on your YouTube channel. What do you need help with today?" That Zoom just gave us, and I think it's a big deal that Zoom just gave us. I'm addicted to ChatGPT. I'm using it all the time. Now I can have my ChatGPT in Zoom that knows Zoom stuff. WebEx doesn't have this, and I don't know if they see a need for it. And I think they're one of the few companies in the world that has the resources to make a good one, like Zoom did. So, I mean, is it me? Do you think us? They don't need that?
Well, when I look at the companies that Cisco, Cisco have acquired companies. Some have worked really well, some not so well. One of the acquisitions was Postpath, which was an email and calendaring cloud-based solution that they made many, many years ago before we all moved to the cloud. So it was an acquisition too early, arguably. If they had kept that, maybe we would have seen AI being developed where you can look across your calendar appointments, your emails, where you store all your files in your in WebEx, where you look at all your team chats, and they would have a more comprehensive portfolio than they do at the moment. Where I am interested is I'm interested in things like asking AI where my CEO is on a call and she can't seem to improve her video quality. What's wrong? And then somehow AI looks into the network, the switching, the routing, the Wi-Fi, looks at all the devices and says, it's because there's an issue with their bandwidth, or there's an issue with jitter, or maybe the executive, she should move to this room just down the corridor because we know that that's empty, or and it's much in terms of QoS. There are certain things that you could probably get from AI with Cisco that you might not get with
Isn't it?
Zoom. There's
Cisco
certainly a lot
does
of
some
things
of
with
that
Zoom that you're not
stuff.
going to get with Cisco. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Cisco
well, there we go.
Thousand Eyes. Doesn't Cisco Thousand Eyes do some of that kind of stuff?
It does. Yes, it does. Yeah, it integrates with the whole WebEx suite and contact centers and all the networking, switching, routing, and underlying infrastructure. Yeah.
Yeah. But the tying of it all together, like Kevin was saying in chat, and like you were saying, that's really powerful. And I think we can't talk about everything at Zoomtopia, but one thing I got to talk about is the tasks thing. I love this because one of the first things that blew me away about meeting summaries was when meeting summaries first came out a couple of years ago. It was like, whoa, they're better than we thought they'd be. I thought these were going to be really, really off, and they're pretty good. And I'm like, did you see what's at the bottom of the meeting summary? It had the tasks from the meeting. It pulls out tasks. I mean, so this is old already. This is old news, but I was like blown away by that. But what this is doing is, you all know the new Zoom workplace with the tabs. There's a new tab for tasks, and it looks in all the other tabs. So it looks through your chats because there's to-dos that are lost in your chats. It looks in your meeting summaries. It looks in your emails. If
It
this is
looks in
really
your
going to pull tasks
voicemail.
from my emails, in
It
your
looks in your
voicemail.
voicemail as well. So there's going to be a point where you don't have to respond to a voicemail. It will just be, oh, there's the task. Someone wants to change my meeting appointment from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Oh, and by the way, AI's taking care of it. It's already seen that we're both available. It's done. That's where we're going to get to, which will be huge productivity boons for
Huge.
everyone.
Yeah, if you've studied productivity, you ever read "Getting Things Done" by David Allen? It's
Yes, I've got the book right here in my
oh,
bookshelf.
a
Yep.
big part of his philosophy is the collection phase. Because if you're walking around the day saying, "What's in my emails? What's in my chats? What's in my voicemails?" It's all taking all this brain space to try to remember everything. And feel like, if I want to do something, I'm gonna look at my task list. because I have a great collection process and it's in the task list. And this is AI doing that, the biggest part of that.
Yeah. The
That's
brain's
really
for having
cool.
ideas, not holding ideas. So get
Yes.
everything down. And if AI can help you do that at the beginning of your day, and then even better, prioritize, because it knows that Kevin sent me an email I know I need to respond to because I've got a meeting with him tomorrow. If you can then prioritize your inbox based on importance rather than date and time, that to me is going to be huge as well. And I can see this sort of, it's not 3 years out. I would be very surprised if it's not,
No, this
maybe
is
3 months is a push, but it's doable.
yeah, the
It's
AI is
coming.
there. And something I didn't get from um the keynote, I missed it, but I was talking to Leo from Zoom, and he clarified for me, or he pointed out to me, it doesn't just collect the tasks, it can do some of them depending on what the task is. There are some types of tasks you click on the task and they will say, okay, I did that. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, okay, now we're really talking. So it's not just going to collect my tasks; it's going to do some of them depending on what the task is. That I thought was awesome.
That's great. Well, one thing I did want to ask you, David, I didn't actually, I wasn't there, unfortunately. I had two of my team go there, and they told me that they were really quite impressed by the Ceiling Microphone Pro from WebexOne. What I really love about Cisco now is that they're fantastic at video, but the worst thing about video is when you've got a really poor audio experience,
Yes.
because it's like, well, I can see that they're trying to say something, or but I still can't make it out. I thought the Ceiling Microphone Pro was very interesting. It looked like a really great device. It looked easy to install, which I like, because you don't necessarily have an AV professional to come in, power over Ethernet. Hopefully, that's something that facilities could actually install. What was your take?
Well, they always make good hardware. I mean, you've never been able to take that away from them. They've always made good hardware, and this is it's a gorgeous device. But it was more than just the device itself. Kevin made a point. Does anyone any listen to voicemails? No, no.
No, no, no.
Usually
I think the
garbage.
red light is just nice to have on your. It's almost like a decorative feature on your iPhone, isn't it? This little
Yes.
red light that comes on.
Oh, the little
It's
red lights
yeah.
on again. But it was not only a great device and functional. You know, the coverage of it, the beamforming. There's I forgot how many dozens of mini microphones inside all working together. The technology, we've gotten there with our audio technology. But what was really interesting about it, it was an example throughout the event of bigger things that they're doing at WebEx. They had a whole presentation on sustainability, and the way they designed and built this really ties into their whole sustainability thing. They have this is a really interesting presentation. I don't know if you caught it remotely, but it was one of my favorite ones. I forgot what they called it, but they put together a document which is a new design guide. And when I think of web, when Cisco's so big, I think they have a design team for this product, design team for that product. They all have their own rules. This is one rule set for all of it. So, in some ways, it makes sense. So, oh, okay, so the video bars are going to kind of look like the speaker, the microphone. I want to keep on calling it a speaker, but it's a microphone. Will kind of look like the video. You know, everything will kind of look the same. The logo will be in the same place. The curves will be the same. The colors will be the same. But it was more than that. It was the sustainability piece, little things. The fact that they care about little things, like they used to, the fabric that covers the speaker, the round speaker, they used to take a big piece of cloth and stamp out the circles, and then sew the circles on, and then they'd throw out a lot of cloth. Now they're having them knitted, so there's no wasted material. Every bit of material goes into it. The it's more than 50% recycled plastic. So
Wow.
yeah, you know, I'm happy these days if you get 20%. I want you to make your materials out of garbage. If your video bar or your speaker phone is or microphone is 10% garbage, I'm happy. If it's 20% garbage, I'm happier. And they're over 50%. So that was really good. And oh, the other thing when we were talking about before the iPhone, the Apple goggle thing, when they were trying to give examples of, like we were saying, it's a niche use of actual uses. They said we use this when we were designing the microphone, the ceiling mic. We actually used the goggles. I had to show people in 3D where we were placing the microphones inside, and it wasn't good enough to do it on 2D WebEx. I needed 3D WebEx, and it was compelling. So this was not only a great device, the ceiling mic, it was sort of an example of how they're doing everything.
Yeah, and I remember quite a number of these sessions ago, we were talking about the ability for hi-fis to be able to send out white noise and be able to adjust the settings dynamically based on the room. And I understand that the Microphone Pro, Cisco Ceiling Mic Pro, allows you to do that as well. And it's not just during setup. It sounded like it was almost like a continuous thing because, of course, when you get bodies in a room, they absorb sound. So if you can do that in real time, absolutely fantastic. So it does sound like they're putting a lot of thought into the very basic stuff, like let's have some really great quality audio. So yeah,
Yeah, they've
excellent,
always been good at audio, and audio is as Let's Do Video guy. Audio is the most important part of any video call. So,
cool.
all right, anything else? I mean, there's a
No, I think
million other
that sort of
things, but
yeah, it's going to be fascinating tracking the developments in these two specific areas. Lots and lots of features, broad platform approach, and then lots of integration, deep platform approach. I'll be interested to see how these two strategies play out. But yeah, definitely ones to watch, and makes our life very difficult.
yeah, we have a lot to cover. I'm going to be putting out a lot of tutorials on all the new tabs in Zoom. And
Excellent.
it just seemed, two amazing events. Shout out to both AR teams who are doing a great job, from what I understand, remotely as well as in person. And it's a good time when both of these companies are doing well. Sometimes you go to these events and it's like we really need to be growing more here, and we're not seeing the numbers we want to see here. But WebEx and Zoom are particularly in contact center. Everything they can ask for. So these are good times.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Thank you, Tim, for being here. As always, it's good to be back in our groove. No more traveling for me for the rest of the year.
Excellent. Sounds good.
All right. And as always, I always have trouble finding my goodbye scene. Here we go. Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks. Please like and
Thanks.
subscribe.